What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Turbo Beasts. I am doing some more story mode in Ya-HAR-num here. Is it called Ya-HAR-num? Let me see. Oh, Ya-HAR-num. Back in Ya-HAR-num? Ya-HAR-num, welcome back to Ya-HAR-num. And yeah, we got some cool stuff going on this time. We got this lady here. Looks like she's finally up and about. And part of the reason for that is if you look up in the top right corner, there is a little eyeball, and right next to that is the number 1. I need at least one of those called insight to be able to speak to the doll here. So let's just see what she has to say.
Hello, good hunter. I am a doll, here in this dream to look after you. Honorable hunter, pursue the echoes of blood, and I will channel them into your strength. You will hunt beasts, and I will be here for you to embolden your sickly spirit.
So she's the one who levels us up. So I'm gonna do that.
Very well. Let the echoes become your strength. Let me stand close. Now shut your eyes.
As I'm sure you can understand, there's a lot of fan art about her. Ay, ay, ay. Oh, the internet. Alright, so we leveled up a little bit. I'm going to be focusing on Strength and Arcane.
Hunter. May you find your worth in the waking world.
Man, do I ever hope I do. So yeah, there is... let's see, yeah, she's the one who levels you up anyway, and there's a pretty interesting story behind all that. Don't think I'll be getting into it. There's tons of lore to this game, and it's very, very dense, even though it doesn't really give you a whole lot. So yeah, it's not really going to be my focus. What I am going to do today, though, is I'm going to murder some bosses while I tell you a couple stories from the Turbo Beast lexicon way back in our childhood. So, yeah, I'm going to start in our hometown, Squamish, where Shane and I and our sister and our, well, our family kind of grew up, I guess. Let's see. Yeah, it was a really cool town to grow up in. It was like full of trees and forest paths and all this kind of stuff. It was really cool to be a kid in. Not really somewhere you want to be all growed up in, you know? Because when you start wanting to go after more like adult pursuits, it's a little, could be a little limiting because there wasn't really kind of fuck all to do there. Most of the people I knew who stuck around after we moved away when I was turning 13. Most of them got into drinking early, did some skateboarding and stuff, but they either did that or they got into D&D, which I think that's the wiser of the two. But anyway, in Squamish, we went to an elementary school that only went up to grade 5. That was the first one we went to anyway. I went on to go to grade 6 and 7 in a different school. But yeah, this school that we went to, really, really teeny. And we had lots of cool shit going on in there. Oh. And on the school grounds, there were 2 separate hills. Two separate fields. There was a grass field and a dirt field. And the dirt field, when I originally went there, and like from kindergarten to like grade 1, I think, it was like a forest. It was really cool. And here we have boss number 1. What's up, big man? Someone's been fapping. He's got a big arm. He's a lefty, too. I hear that's... Oh, oh, oh. How's your eyeball? Bet it sucks now. So anyway, the dirt field was originally full of trees and all this kind of stuff. It was really pretty. But they took it out because it was right around the time that people decided that kids aren't allowed to be kids. And they're just going to injure themselves. So they took it out, and basically it was just a big field full of dirt after that. Dirt and stinkweed, so, you know, that's way better for kids to be in. But the grass field was nice. It was big. We did, you know, a track and field sports day or whatever. Always in that field. We had these two big playground things that were really, really fun. But my friends and I, and Shane was included in this, was, I think this was before our sister even started school. I think I was in grade 3, Shane was in grade 1, and yeah, our sister hadn't even started. Ow. Alright, I get that you're upset, but I have content that I need to provide to my audience, so shut up. So anyway, yeah, there was all this stuff to play with, but my friends and my brother and all this kind of stuff, we used our imagination. Hey, killed him. So yeah, we were content to use our imaginations and have a good old time doing that. So one of the things that we started doing one day was we started like play fighting. I think we were just imagining that we were, you know, monsters or soldiers or something. I don't think we didn't really do any military stuff. We were always much more into like fantasy and horror. So I think we were maybe playing Aliens. I'm pretty sure we were playing like Aliens because that was right around the time that the Aliens action figures came out, and we were really excited to get a hold of those, and we really liked the idea of aliens versus Marines and all this kind of stuff. We were doing it before there was a video game, before it was cool. So yeah, we started doing this play fighting thing, and we were just having a good old time, just kind of pretending to, you know, kill aliens. We'd take turns being aliens and Marines, all this kind of stuff. And then some older kids got into what we were doing. They were watching us, and they were like, that looks really fun. Let's join you. And so we were like, we kind of explained the rules. We didn't tell them we were aliens or Marines or whatever, but we were pretending like, oh, there's bad guys and good guys. So we started doing that. And more and more people started to get into it. And the more like older kids who did get into it, the more like actually like full contact stuff started to happen, which wasn't really so good. Probably shouldn't have. Like, I mean, we kind of did stop after a while once things got a little too crazy, but yeah, it was a bit got a bit intense pretty fast.
Welcome home. What is it?
And it got to the point that after a while, kids would come up to us while we were like having lunch or our snacks or whatever and be like, hey, we fighting today? Are we doing the play fighting thing? And we'd be like, I guess, let me just finish my cookies, you know? So one day we came out onto the field, me and Shane and James and Travis, which were the other two kids who kind of started it. We all started it together. And more and more and more kids had got into it. I think this was only over the span of like a week. It was like 4 or 5 days maybe. And so we went out, and the two fields were separated by this really, really big hill. And the biggest and steepest side was the side that went down into the grass field. So we stood on the top of this field one day at the start of our lunch period, and we looked down, and there was like basically a full-on brawl happening, and like pretty much the entire school was down there kicking each other's asses, and we were like, holy shit. So, and there were these two supervisor like field supervisor ladies, I remember Miss Furby was definitely one of them, and I think Miss Cromack was the second grade teacher. There was another lady, and the other lady looked kind of like Angelica Houston. Like Angelica Houston had like sort of shorter kind of jaw length hair, and Miss Furby was like there were a couple times that they looked after our classes, like they were like substitute teachers for a little bit, and they were cool then, but man, you didn't want them to catch you pulling any shenanigans while you were out on the field during lunch because, man, they would yell like crazy. They both had a bit of a mean streak. Miss Furby, I think, was the meaner of the two. But anyway, we run around and we start this, or we're watching this play fight shit, and we're like, oh my god, there was some crazy shit going on. How the fuck did you not get it? Get back here. Yeah, that's right, you collapse weirdly. And so the two supervisor ladies, Miss Furby and Miss were yelling at the top of their lungs like, "You can't stop it!" And I think it came to the point that our principal, Mr. Van Der Ree, who was like this big, he wasn't very big, but he had a beard. And if you're a kid and you see a guy with a beard, it's automatically like they just assume a position of authority, you know? Beards freak kids out. So he got out there and man, was he pissed. So after lunch was over, they called an emergency meeting or emergency assembly. So they got all the little kids into the gymnasium. We were all lined up in our classes and all this kind of stuff, and Mr. Van Der Ree gets up there and he's still like, his blood's fucking boiling. Oh, there's something I gotta do. So he gets up there and he's yelling away and he's like, who's doing this? Who's responsible? And so he was like, I want to know who started all of this. And I looked over and I think James and Travis were in a different class, but we were in the same grade, so we were close to each other. But we looked over at each other and we're like, like, I ain't saying shit. And we look over and we're like, Shane, obviously, he's not going to say shit either. So, bunghole. Gross. So anyway, yeah, I mean, Shane's not going to say shit. He's not going to get in trouble, all this kind of stuff. And, so yeah, basically it was this huge thing. We caused like basically a school-wide war. And, yeah, I think no one knew who it was for the longest time. I'm pretty sure, like, we never came clean basically until years and years and years later, so it didn't really matter. But it was just fun. It was really cool watching everyone, like, just, I wish I could like reenact it or something, or draw it, or just transport the image into your mind of like just coming out of our class one day, standing at the top of that hill and just watching the entire school kicking each other's ass. It was really something. So yeah, it was pretty fun. So I'm gonna keep this episode going. Hopefully I'm gonna be able to beat another boss. So I think I'll tell one more story. And this is this one's this one's a little more interesting because it involves fire. But I'm just gonna get the story. There's a little bit of interesting in-game storyline just about to happen here, so I'm just gonna get this going.
Who are you? Are you a hunter?
Oh,
And
shit.
please go look for my mum. Daddy never came back from the hunt, and she went to find him. But now she's gone too. I'm all alone and scared.
Yeah, I'll find your mom.
Oh, thank you. My mum wears a red jeweled brooch. It's so big and beautiful. You won't miss it. Oh, I mustn't forget. If you find my mum, give her this music box.
Oh, cool. Okay.
It plays one of Daddy's favourite songs. And when Daddy forgets us, we play it for him so he remembers. Mum's so silly when I'm off without it. My mum wears it so... Oh, and if you find these, and...
Okay, so we gotta go find this little girl's mom and dad. And they have... the mom usually plays a music box with a song that their father remembers because sometimes he forgets who they are. So in a world where everyone's turning into beasts and shit, I don't think it's going to end terribly well for Mum. So I'm just gonna switch a couple things up here. There we go. So I got this little thing. It's a hand lantern. So if you walk into a dark place, you can just go wee, and it gives you a little light. I just think it's so cool. So anyway, yeah, this next story involves fire. So what we did when we were kids, we had a neighbor. I'm not gonna tell his name or anything. I don't want to. I mean, I don't talk to him anymore. I've lost touch or lost contact with him years and years and years ago. But still, may as well not name him. So but he lived like 3 houses down from where we lived, and he was very much the like rough and tumble, like getting into trouble all the time kind of kid. He's, you know, the snips and snails kind of boy. But we went over to his house pretty often, and I mean, he was nice. He's basically like, a lot of the reason you go over to a kid's house is because they had different video games from you. And he had some cool ones that we didn't have. So what we did sometimes for fun is he had a Folgers can and dead leaves, and his dad was some kind of construction worker or something. So we had lots of tools and things and cans of WD-40. And what we would do was fill that Folgers can full of dead dry leaves, spray that shit down with WD-40, use a lighter, and just light that shit on fire. See how high we could get the flames to go. Because small town kids know how to make their own fun. So anyway, we called this thing a flaming, his name, because he was like, it was a reference to the flaming Moe from the Simpsons episode, where like Homer teaches Moe how to make this drink from basically leftover bits of alcohol, cough syrup, and then lighting it on fire. So we called these things the flaming him, and so it looks like we found Daddy.
Beasts all over the shop.
Uh-huh.
You'll be one of them, sooner or later.
I'm already a beast. I'm a turbo beast. I see you are too. Let us see who is the more turbo. Good sir. Ow! Not cool. Ow. Oh, you dick. Ooh. No. Ow. Ow. This guy's a bit of a douche. I haven't fought this boss in a long time. Ooh, point blank with a shoot gun.
What's that smell? Sweet blood. Oh, it sings to me.
Yikes.
It's enough to make a man sick.
So we know the blood can make people go nuts, apparently. Dude. Alright, sorry guys, I gotta focus a little bit, but you can enjoy watching me beat this old man to death. Dude. Yikes. So, the little girl gave us a music box, and the reason for that is this. What do you think of that music there, Pappy? Forget your kids? Forget your wife? Or forget that shit. Alright, so Daddy's dead. Who fucking Ray? But anyway, yeah, so we figured we'd light a bit of, you know, one day we were playing around. I think Shane went home at this point. I think. But me and our couple doors down neighbor went down to a little park at the bottom of our street. And it was kind of at the bottom of this teeny, like it was kind of a decline down to the bottom of the street. And there was this teeny little park, had like a swing set, some slides, and there was a tennis court down there, all that kind of stuff. So, but it was all like a wooded area, like quite a densely wooded area. And in this wooded area was basically like half of a dead tree. We used to call it the stump, but it was like, it was a good, like 8 or 9 feet tall, I think. And, oh yeah, here's... Their mom wears a red jeweled brooch. There's the mum. So we got some bad news for our little kid. So anyway, we went down to the bottom of the street and we figured, oh, for some reason we figured it would be a really brilliant idea to go and throw the Folgers can underneath the stump because it had this little hollow underneath it. And we figured, oh, that's going to be really fun. For some reason, I don't know why. But anyway, we do that. And yeah, we shove some worms and bugs in there as tribute to the flame god. And woof, we just set it alight. And yeah, of course, we got a nice good flame out of it. And the flame touched the dead, dry tree and did exactly what flames tend to do when they touch dead, dry trees. So we booked it. I think at one point, I think I was lookout. I'm pretty damn sure I was like lookout. And then I heard our neighbor go, oh, fuck. And we looked over, I turned around and looked over and yeah, bad. So we bailed. Oh yeah. The Bergenworth spider hides all manner of rituals and keeps our lost master from us. A terrible shame. It makes my head shudder uncontrollably. That's not good. So yeah, we bounced. I went back to my house, and I walked in the house, and our dad was like, this is why I think Shane went home. I think Shane was interrogated and kind of fessed up a little bit. And Dad was like, I heard you've been playing with fire. And I was like, yeah. So Dad was like, I want you to stop doing that. Because we just watched like an Oprah special and this kid had, you know, his face melted off because he was playing with fire. And I never want you doing that again. If I find out you're doing it, you're in some serious trouble. So I freaked out. Because that's exactly what we've just done. We basically, like, we had committed arson, essentially. So yeah, I was like, okay, no, I never will. And yeah, then Dad was like, okay, let's all go to McDonald's for dinner. So we piled into the family minivan and pulled out of the driveway. And I am so grateful to this day that our dad didn't look down that hill because I did. And at the bottom of the hill was a fire truck. And standing at the mouth of the park, watching these firemen put out the goddamn fire we set in the park. There was this little old lady. And the front half of her body was lit up with an orange glow because the fire was fucking crazy. It had gone out of control. Luckily, it didn't catch any houses or anything. But man, I can tell you, I spent the next like couple weeks barely able to sleep because I was terrified that I was going to get like figured out or something like that, like a cop was going to come to the door or something like that. But as luck tended to have it around that age, I didn't get caught at all. So yeah, that's the story of how I started a war and committed arson and got off scot-free. Thanks for joining me today on Turbo Beasts, everybody, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.